Hello everyone, here's the first video of 2023, and as promised, it's part 2 of what else I saw in December. Part 1 contained only Christmas movies. This video will cover the non-Christmassy movies I saw last month, plus a couple Christmas movies I saw after I posted part 1. I know some people like to watch only Christmas movies throughout the month of December. That's not really the case with me, I guess, or at least it wasn't this year. So, movie number 1 is 2011's Source Code, a sci-fi action thriller in which Jake Gyllenhaal plays a captain on active duty in Afghanistan who wakes up on a train traveling through Chicago. To make it even weirder, he seems to be in another man's body. Turns out he's part of an experiment, and he has an 8-minute loop in which to identify a terrorist before the train explodes. Probably the less said about the plot the better, for a few reasons. It can get confusing and also a little strange, but I enjoyed the movie more because I chose to just accept the credibility of the whole idea. That's easy enough to do when the protagonist is as disoriented and bewildered as the viewer, and Gyllenhaal does a good job with that. Vera Farmiga is also good as the officer, giving him maddeningly cryptic instructions, a touch of paranoia over just what it is the powers that be are up to, and whether or not those decisions are ethical, adds a nice kick to what ends up being quite a compelling story. Movie number 2 is 1996's Night Falls on Manhattan, a crime drama written and directed by Sidney Lumet, in which Andy Garcia plays a young-ish law student aspiring to be an ADA who finds himself embroiled in a case involving police, a drug dealer, and a possible network of corruption. Good cast here. I did notice that Garcia's accent seemed to change whenever he addressed the public. That struck me as funny, and I wondered if it was meant to mimic the way certain politicians, certain public figures will talk differently when they make a speech, depending on who they're addressing. But maybe it's just an Andy Garcia thing. Richard Dreyfuss plays the defense attorney, Ian Holm plays a cop who's also, surprisingly, Garcia's father, and James Gandolfini appears as his partner. There's a bunch of other people in it too. I liked the film well enough, but it was kind of bleak and sobering, the type movie that leaves you feeling jaded at the end, or if you're already jaded, reminds you just how jaded you are. It also strongly reminded me of the film City Hall with Al Pacino and John Cusack, which is also about corruption and scandal in New York City, and also came out in 1996. Movie number 3 is 2022's Infinite Storm, which is based on a true story. Naomi Watts plays a search and rescue worker who goes for a hike up Mount Washington, gets caught in a storm, and then finds someone else freezing in the snow. She then must do everything she can, including risk her own safety and comfort, to get this person down the mountain. This was a viewer recommendation that I already had on my watch list because I like snowy survival stuff, and it was okay. It had some flaws. In some scenes, the snow looked very fake. I thought the storm effects were inconsistent, the dialogue was bland, and it had a slower pace and artsy style I don't look for in this genre. But it wasn't as bad as some reviewers on IMDb made it sound. Good grief, some of those people are tough critics. It has a decent number of twists, and while the closing is kind of abrupt, I thought it could have used something more. It ends up being a decent story about two broken individuals making life-changing contact. Movie number 4 is 1957's China Gate, set during the French Indochina War. Angie Dickinson plays a Eurasian hired by the French Foreign Legion to lead a group of mercenaries on a mission into enemy territory. One member of the group is her racist ex-husband, played by Gene Barry, who walked out on her and their son when he saw his boy looked Chinese. Tension is thick between the estranged couple as Dickinson uses her connections and alliances to get the group through the jungle. Another of the mercenaries is played by none other than Nat King Cole, and that's really the reason why I picked this one. It's not a Christmas movie by any stretch of the imagination, but he does sing in the film, and I love his voice, and since Nat King Cole is one of the quintessential voices of the season, I thought this was a good time to check it out. I actually found the movie pretty dreary, so maybe it wasn't such a good idea after all, but it was interesting, and the personal conflicts pulled you in. It was directed by Samuel Fuller. I think it was actually written and produced and directed by Samuel Fuller. And Lee Van Cleef shows up late in the game as a half-caste party enthusiast who's romantically involved with Dickinson. It was at this point I posted What Else I Saw in December Part 1, so now here are the movies that I saw during the rest of the month. Movie number 5 is the 1955 TV special version of The Miracle on 34th Street. MacDonald Carey and Teresa Wright star, with Thomas Mitchell playing Kris Kringle and young Sandy Desher playing the little girl. Incidentally, she's most known for appearing the previous year in Them, the giant ant movie, which also starred Edmund Gwenn, who played Kris Kringle in the 47 film. So how about them apples? Consternation ensues at Macy's when the man hired to play Santa Claus insists that he's the real deal. Yes, there are 2 famous feature-length adaptations of this story, but I wanted to check this one out because of its cast, mainly Teresa Wright and Thomas Mitchell. Teresa Wright is wonderful as always. This was a reunion for her and MacDonald Carey 12 years after they worked together in Shadow of a Doubt. And Thomas Mitchell's take on Kris Kringle is a delight. He's a bundle of energy with a merry twinkle in his eye. There are also appearances from Hans Conried, Dick Foran, and Ray Collins, who, as the judge presiding over the case, steals all his scenes. I'm finding I really like it when Ray Collins does comedy. Ours was never a Santa household, so I've got no great affinity for The Miracle on 34th Street. If you do love either movie, you will no doubt find this version lacking, but I actually enjoyed the story more in abbreviated form. At just 46 minutes, it moves quickly while hitting all the right beats, and the performances from familiar and beloved faces are fun. Movie number 6 is a carryover that I had considered watching the previous year but didn't get to, so this was my chance. 1940's Beyond Tomorrow. It's a romantic fantasy in which 3 older businessmen, played by Harry Carey, C. Aubrey Smith, and Charles Winninger, along with a Russian refugee, played by Maria Uspenskaya, bring together 2 young people, Richard Carlson and Jean Parker, for an unexpected Christmas dinner party. They all become fast friends, but when the 3 older men die, they return as ghosts to try to keep the couple together. I really enjoyed the first half, which includes the Christmas portion of the story, and it's quite fun and festive. I wasn't as engaged by the rest of it, where things take a depressing turn. Richard Carlson plays a young singer who makes some bad decisions which are very predictable, and then the film delves into some afterlife theology which I found pretty wishy-washy, so without question, what I liked most were the interactions of the featured senior actors. I found the elder characters far more endearing than their mild-mannered, hapless protégés, and all 4 of them give such charming, sensitive performances that they could have been the only ones in the whole movie, and I probably would have been happy. And that's actually where the list ends, because even though I had every intention of watching several more movies in that last week of the year, one by one we all got COVID. And while I never got dangerously sick, none of us did, it's basically been like having a bad cold, I never felt up to watching a movie. I spent a lot of time by myself up here for the first several days, and I don't prefer to watch movies alone. I don't prefer to watch movies on my laptop. And I just didn't feel like it. I didn't feel like I was dying, but, you know, it had been a long time since I'd been sick, and I had the chills a lot, and just felt crummy in general. So I spent a lot of time staring at the wall, a lot of time napping. I did watch quite a few YouTube videos. I also fell asleep watching quite a few videos. So that was how the rest of the year went. Anyway, that wraps it up, and I hope you enjoyed the list. Let me know what you think of any of the films I mentioned that you may have seen, and go ahead and share what you watched over the holidays. And come back next week, please, for another video. I don't know what the next video is gonna be. I have some vague plans, but honestly, I kind of lost my mojo in the last 10 days, so we'll see what happens. I'll post something, I just don't know what it'll be, so stay tuned for that, and thanks for watching.